Hi, welcome back. Visa and TNT International Financial Center, that's the TTIFC, are collaborating to drive financial inclusion in Trinidad and Tobago in building a first-class digital payments ecosystem. To explain exactly what this means, Jorge Salum Visa, Senior Business Development Leader for the Caribbean, and John Outridge, CEO of TTIFC. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the morning edition. So if I may go direct straight to Mr. Jorge Salum, who is a Visa Senior Business Development Leader, Caribbean. Mr. Salum, what does this mean, this relationship mean for, why is this important for Visa?
Well, for Visa, our mission is ultimately to build a payments network that can uplift people, uplift businesses, and uplift economies. And we found in TTIFC an organization that shared a similar objective in trying to drive financial inclusion and financial literacy in Trinidad and Tobago. And so we started collaborating on a number of different initiatives, and we really focused on two main initiatives that we announced recently. One of them was driving electronic payments acceptance in government, which we think this is strategically important in the market because we know that government is a prime mover in a market. So the fact that government was willing to begin accepting payments and in doing so uplifting the economy and driving people towards using electronic payments, we saw it as an important initiative. And we are well positioned to really support this effort by providing infrastructure in the cards that we have in the market and through our payments platform, CyberSource, to accept those payments. The second main initiative that we found very interesting was the TTIFC's idea to create a fintech innovation hub. And in order for the electronic payments network to work, it's really a collaboration between different participants in the ecosystem, a collaboration between government, between financial institutions, fintech, merchants. And so this hub represented an opportunity to create a collaboration space. And in addition to that, we see it as a great showcase for Trinidad and Tobago. There are a number of fintech organizations that are interested in investing in the region. And so, and what better place than Trinidad to establish their offices.
All right.
So we thought it was very interesting that this hub could be a point of attraction and a point of meeting with these regional organizations that want to invest in the Caribbean.
Okay, so let me bring in now Mr. John Outridge, who is the CEO of TTIFC. Mr. Outridge, why is this partnership, this relationship with Visa important for Trinidad and Tobago?
So, I mean, George could have done this interview by himself, because I think he was spot on. But some of the points I just want to pick up from what he raised, and, just this interview is a signal to that, right? So we have Visa, one of the largest payment processing companies in the world, having a focus here in Trinidad and Tobago and in the Caribbean region. So the reason why this is important is exactly what George was alluding to. When the IFC's mandate was changed back in 2021, Trinidad and Tobago is the largest economy in the region. We have, a very strong financial sector here in Trinidad and Tobago. So the ambition was basically jumping off of that and basically building a fintech ecosystem. And just to kind of provide some clarity, when we speak about fintech, it's really about, having our financial institutions creating that ecosystem to provide what I would call more improved service delivery to the end users, to the customers, where somebody, rather than using cash, they can have different options from cards to wearables to paying with their phone. So this entire sort of ecosystem collaboration is why it's important for us here at the TTIFC, because as George was mentioning, we need the support from these international partners. We need the interest from external parties internationally who would want to come in to the region and provide their networks and their services. And this is where you would see these sorts of innovations starting to take place here on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago. So that's what we are trying to sort of catalyze, I would say, through the collaboration with Visa, and as George was mentioning, through the establishment of this innovation hub, which we see it being a regional centerpiece.
All right. Mr. Outridge, we have had this discussion before about FinTech, which is a state organization. The TTIFC is a state organization, and you're tasked with the responsibility of, among many other things, but building a cashless society. How far are we from achieving that goal?
Yeah, sure. And it's interesting you said that, because I think it was probably last week, if I'm not mistaken, there was an interesting commentary actually in the Express, right? Where the message was basically, TTIFC, you need to slow down. We're going too fast. I don't understand what this cashless is. So I would only say, in terms of getting towards a cashless society, the education and getting persons to understand the benefits is also a key milestone, right? Because the key to really getting towards a cashless society is really adoption. We can put as many products, as many services, as many technologies in the ecosystem. If people don't understand how to use them or don't, drive to pick up that adoption, that is really going to be the challenge. So even in these sorts of touch points and doing the innovation hub, one of the functions is really about educating the population, because, and George would speak about this, I'm sure recently you would realize that everywhere you go in Trinidad and Tobago, you can basically tap to pay. And when you look at how quickly that transaction happens, it's much quicker than cash. But you still see people very apprehensive trying to put their card to tap because, again, they don't understand, right? So there's a lot of education that needs to take place before we can reach that cashless society status. Because as long as persons understand the benefits of cashless, then I think it's going to help that adoption process. So it's still a journey.
And who is going to be responsible for providing that education to the members of the public so that we can have this adoption you're talking about?
So we are definitely on our own pillar going to be doing some community outreach programs. Even right now, as we speak, we are undertaking the nation's first, what we call financial inclusion study, trying to understand, again, the apprehensions from person, what might be some barriers and challenges in terms of them moving away from cash. Because sadly, one thing that doesn't exist is a lot of data around this problem, right? We have a lot of anecdotal evidence as to why you should use cash versus cards or so forth. The World Bank, the last time they did a study on TNT was all the way back in 2017. So from since there to now, we really do have a pulse in terms of, what really is the data around this. So we are hoping to get that data, I would say by July of this year, which will then really inform what I will call our rollout strategies, working with companies like Visa, working with the Banking Association, working with the Central Bank and other players to kind of roll out some educational campaigns around these solutions.
Of course, your advice would be for people not to use cash. Am I correct?
Well, when you look at what's happening in today's world, right, and even in society, right, I mean, there's a lot of benefits and a lot of downsides from cash, right? So one, obviously, is the security aspect of it. Another is also the convenience, right? I mean, everybody has to pay somebody, so even if you look at trade, I might have a small business in Princeton that I need to pay. If I have to get cash to them, I have to jump in a taxi to drop that versus being able to transfer that or send that via a wallet, which is instant, right? Another big aspect of why we're really trying to do this is really about making persons understand that, you need to create your own transaction history. Whether you have a bank account or not, the idea is that you need to create some sort of history from yourselves, because then this is what's going to allow you to then approach financial institutions, whether it be SMEs or banks or credit unions, to then be able to borrow money to advance your own social status. So there's a lot of benefits from that perspective, as it relates to cash. And then obviously, where do you store cash, right? So, I mean, having the security, Trinidad and Tobago has the largest financial ecosystem, and it's very stable. We have survived a lot of bumps in the road. So, we're really trying to use all of those points to really get people confident.
Tell me something, Mr. Outridge. This relationship with Visa, is it a free service?
Yeah, well, I will let George kind of speak to this, but Visa, when you look at what's sort of taking place, even in Trinidad and Tobago, every card that you pull out in your wallet is a Visa-enabled card, right? So the idea, this is a collaboration. Visa is already invested here in Trinidad and Tobago. What the IFC is really doing is leveraging off of those investments that have been already made and connecting the ecosystem, basically. So
right.
So
Mr. Salum, I want to ask you directly, how is Visa benefiting from no private organization, especially one that is in the finance business, is going to engage in business without any bottom line? How is Visa benefiting from this?
Well, certainly Visa is a for-profit organization, so generally speaking, there's a business model in place. But ultimately, we're in a business that societies, businesses, and individuals benefits from the services that we offer. And if we look at our mission statement, it is about uplifting people, uplifting businesses, and doing so uplifting markets and countries. So what we try to do is build a payments ecosystem by partnering with a broad range of stakeholders, as I mentioned, financial institutions, government, merchants, cardholders, or people, to enable a safer, more convenient payment experience for them that allows them to focus their effort on living their lives and working, rather than to having to go stand in line and carrying excessive amounts of cash, right? So the way Visa's general model works is that we work through banks, we work through fintech, we work through merchants to reach end users, right? So ultimately, in order for this network to work, we have a network of over 10,000 partners around the world. In order for this network to work, one aspect of it, of course, is building that infrastructure and the network itself. Another aspect of it is building the brand, right? Because people have to feel safe providing a service in exchange for the promise to be paid by tomorrow, right?
Mr. Salum, we have to leave it there.
That promise. And the third part of it is in building a local ecosystem. And so the benefit that we get in this partnership ultimately is that we're driving that ecosystem to continue collaborating, continue growing, and in doing so, through our partners and directly, we educate consumers, we educate businesses on the benefits of using electronic and digital payments, and then we leave it up to them, of course, right?
Mr. Salum, we have to leave it there. We have to leave it there. We're out of time. But thank you so much. This is Jorge Salum, the Visa Senior Business Development Leader Caribbean. And we were also speaking with Mr. John Outridge, who is the CEO of TTIFC. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking about the TTIFC and Visa TT, a cashless society arrangement. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for being with us here on the Morning Edition. We must take a break. When we come back, we have much more in store.